it up to here with my patience.
Hey there, I'm Victoria Makanjuola, and you're listening to Feel Your Feelings, the podcast where high achievers get real about mental wellness. You feel me? Welcome to season 1, and honey, we're about to get messy.
Gas to the pedal, moving on. Cause I've been on that new vibe, living on an incline.
Hey, what's up? What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the podcast. And it's me hopping in with a quick intro, which I really haven't done before. This is very, very impromptu. And I'm deciding whether I want to keep intros or just kind of let everything flow. So welcome to my host to host series. This is where I basically interview other podcast hosts, media personalities, sports reporters, anyone that I find to be interesting and wanting to talk more about their experience and dive into their messy backgrounds of how they are doing what they do, basically. So today's guest is one of my colleagues who I've had on my host to host series before, and I was on his podcast, the Varsity Isle podcast. His name is Jamie Ellifritz, and he is a father, he's a videographer, he's a writer, he's based out of Cleveland, Ohio area. And he also works for the Key on Sports group, where he is a contributing writer for the high school football sports division there. So I'm super honored to have him on my show. And I'm still navigating this whole arena with like sports and arts and wellness and entertainment. These are the sort of conversations that I want to keep open on my platform. I'm basically checking in to let you know where I'm at. I am looking for more guests to come on my show. So if you have anyone in mind, do drop a comment down in the comment section below of who you think I should talk to, who I should reach out to, because as a podcaster, outreach is something that I need to push myself more. Thanks for tuning in, and let me know what you think. All right, Jamie, I'm so excited to have you on my show today. Thank you so much for being here. I'm curious, how are you feeling right now in this moment?
Feeling pretty good. It's the weekend, of course. I started my
Absolutely.
morning though with a jump scare, where a little
Jump
bit of
scare.
a little bit of sunlight's cracking through the curtains, and I didn't hear my alarm, and I'm like, oh man, is it? I got to get to work. Oh my gosh! And then I'm like, Saturday. Oh man. So I've been up ever since. I couldn't go back to sleep after that. But no, I'm excited. Got a fun-filled weekend visiting with friends, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it, except for being outside where it's super hot up here in Ohio, super humid today. So, but still Northeast Ohio. So I live in Massillon. I am about a 15-minute drive from Canton, Ohio. Canton is about 30 minutes south of Akron, home of LeBron, and an hour
Shout out.
south of Cleveland. So,
Cool.
yep.
So cool. It's so interesting you say that, because right now I'm feeling kind of scrambled. Like this week was so busy for me. I started my new job, I worked 20 hours, and I was just feeling all over the place today. And that's why I have the screen on the back. I was listening to classical music. Just randomly it popped up on my,
Right.
and it just calmed me down. So if anyone is feeling scrambled right now, just pop on some classical music. That's what I like to do. And it just keeps me like centered and still. So kind of leads me to my next question for you is like, what emotion best describes where you are in life right now? And with your platform as well, like what describes the state of your show or what you're doing?
I would say, where am I at now? I would say I'm pretty balanced, but I feel pretty busy too because, I am 51 years old and Gen Xer, proud Gen Xer. And so, um, so between work and life and, I've read different things about, if you want to have a work-life balance, but it's also hard that if you do have that, there's almost some sacrifice that needs to happen with life in order to put the time in for the work in order to go from good to great. That time invested that you're spending time with your career or whatever that you're involved with. The family does pay for it a little bit, and you do too, internally, because you're spending more time trying to focus on, yourself, and then do you feel guilty sometimes because you're putting more time into it? Um, but then you kind of look at it too, that where I work, you want to treat them as like work family as well. So it's just, people's people, right? So you just want to do right by people, regardless of where you stand at that moment. Is kind of how I feel. So I'm kind of balanced right now, which feels good. After a busy summer, I've had a lot of fun, a lot of vacation, a lot of different stops for myself. I'm a huge baseball fan, and yeah, so did some reporting, got some credentials for Pensacola Blue Wahoos down in Florida. Got to do a little bit of coverage of the game, but it was more about like kind of like a stadium tour type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why you should go to Pensacola if you're in the area and visit the stadium. And then a very special place on the way back was in Birmingham, Alabama. Last year during the summer, the Major League Baseball went to Birmingham, Alabama to a place called Rickwood Field. And Rickwood Field is the oldest baseball park in America. And they celebrated the Negro Leagues and the history of the players and the location of how important that stadium was to Negro League baseball. And it was, I'll tell you what, that was a special, special place to be there. Just because you have to look up my article with some of the pictures and stuff that I took. There's some like corrosion in the lower seats area that really shows the age and the date of the stadium,
History. Yeah.
plus the light fixtures that are still there. But yeah, I've just enjoyed that so much to be able to. I love to storytell, and I love
Mm-hmm.
to listen to stories,
Mm-hmm.
um, because ordinary people do extraordinary things every day, and I just I want to keep going. Like I'm looking at going to Pittsburgh next Tuesday to go see one of my favorite bands who I've been waiting for years, ever since they lost their frontman. Um, Lincoln Park is going to be playing over there, so I may be traveling to that myself, which is about a 2-hour trip away, and it's a Tuesday night. But
Driving from Ohio?
yeah, yeah. So
Well, safe travels to you.
yeah.
Safe
Thank you.
travels to you. And I could tell that you love what you do, um, especially with sports and podcasting
Hmm.
and talking about it as well. How we first met, for people that don't know,
Right.
is through a platform called the Unsealed, which is an open writing letters platform where you can write your own stories, poems, short stories. It's founded by Lauren Brills. Shout out to Lauren. And
Hey,
we both
Lauren.
met on a Zoom webinar there, like writing. I
Right.
forgot how specifically. And we just got to talking afterwards and we connected. You were on one of my host to host series prior, and I was on
Hmm.
your show, the Varsity Isle
Yeah.
podcast, which was a really great experience. So, yeah, I say all of that to say, I think going back to balance, even with this current job that I started, as I was job searching and continue to job search, one of the things that I kept in mind was this video from a homeless man, and he was talking to this lady in her car, and he said something so impactful, and it was a prayer. It was like, God, please put me somewhere where I love going to work every day, where they appreciate my work and I blend in and let my spirit speak for me.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's something that I'm not going to say like I found it, this is it, but I'm kind of like I'm understanding it now. And I hope that you can relate to that too, because when you love what you do, you just feel like, okay, I can blend in here. My work is appreciated. And I feel like
Hmm.
there's no better feeling than having your work be appreciated and affirmed.
Yeah, definitely. It just creates a sense of value with your time and the energy that you put into the people that are around you. And that's what you want. And it's not necessarily always for you. It's for how do you inspire others. Um, so yeah, I totally relate to that. And if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like a work as much. It is. The time feels, some days are more stressful than others because you're trying to put, 3 jobs into a time slot that typically would be one, and you're trying to make it work and fight through it. And it's very satisfying to accomplish those goals at the end of the day, to challenge yourself to take on more. But yeah, to me, doing what you love. And like for us, where I work at, I work for full time for a graphics company. So what's great about that is with branding and, with you branding yourself and marketing, for what we do, any place can brand, right? So we love being able to support. I love the fact that I can be in any community and walk into any place and provide some sort of support to help them and their business. And
Yeah.
it's rewarding to get the great feedback when we say we wrap a car, we do a really cool T-shirt design, just from decals to their print items for their offices that help them at trade shows or seminars, because you're creating things for them to help them in their workday and to have a better workday and have more success, and hopefully become more profitable as a business. So
Absolutely.
it's fun. I
Yeah.
really enjoy it.
What sort of content have you been consuming lately, and what people have you been inspired by? This could be podcasts. This could be other hosts like media personalities, sportscasters. Like, who are some people that you've been watching?
Wow, that's a good question, because I've been, with the summer, I've been so involved with watching baseball. I can give the example through baseball of, Tom Hamilton is our radio play-by-play guy that's been, gosh, with us for like 30 some years, and he just got into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I talked once again about storytelling, and with radio, right now somebody may be picking us up on audio, right? But we're doing video as well. So maybe we're on YouTube. But with baseball, and you go back to sports and you go back to the beginning of radio a long time ago when there wasn't television, how impactful it can be. So being a good storyteller is very important. And Tom Hamilton's always had a great voice, has always had a lot of followers, and he's finally been rewarded by getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame this summer, as a broadcaster. So that's kind of neat, for our area. Wow, like I don't know. I'm thinking, like, I don't know about inspired, but I can tell you entertained, man, because I love listening to Dave Chappelle, man. Dave Chappelle is so funny. My gosh, I am so proud to say that he lives in Ohio, and him talk about his time in Ohio. So it's it's just I don't know. I get so, like I said, I get so summertime. I get so locked into baseball. I don't spread myself out as much. So inspiration. Um, I honestly, my daughters are, with going back to my other one daughter going down to college at OU, and how much time and commitment she's made, and for me to adjust as a father, as knowing that our family of five here, with my wife and I, where I kind of look like a pie chart, right? Where and you can respect this and understand this, that, and your parents had to go through this too, where like a pie chart where you have so much time, that bigger piece of pie with your kids, as they age, it just continues to get smaller because your kids are so involved with other things. And now I
Yep.
have, two adult daughters that are both working and going to college, and another one in going to be a junior in high school. So they inspire me with the commitments that they make, with my youngest through music and being part of marching band, and also being part of JAGS, which represents Jackson, which is the school, Academy of Global Studies. So she's looking to have a trip her senior year with them,
Do they
to
play
another country.
sports? Do any of them play sports?
They did, of course, me being a sports guy, I introduced it to them when they were younger. But once I got to middle school, and band is a big commitment. So you're kind of either you're going to be doing band or you're going to be doing sports. And they chose band, and I love music too, so I'm all good with it. So that's kind of why Victoria, where I got involved with doing sports reporting and doing high school football coverage, because with my kids being in the marching band, and I used to coach them when they were little, with some of the stuff that they were involved with, whether it be soccer, or trying to help them with swimming or softball. With music, I can't play a lick, so love music, but I'm all about watching them. So when I get to do coverage of high school games on the sideline, it brings me that much closer to my kids, when they're performing on the field. And it just means the world to me since I have three daughters, right?
Mhm.
So there's none of them are on a football team,
Yeah.
even though here in Ohio, flag football and some other states too is now going to be a high school sport for girls as well.
Very cool.
So right here in Canton, Ohio, they had a big flag football tournament for both
Yeah.
boys and girls
Cool.
this year. So that was really cool to promote that. But
Any
yeah, I
type of
just
any type of sports camp experience I think is very valuable, and it builds character and it builds
mhm,
determination and consistency. I did one tennis sports camp in Houston, Texas when I was in high school between junior and senior year. And even though I want to say I quit, I don't like saying the word quit, but even though I quit early, I still have the memories of like how hard that I had to work
mhm.
during that time. So if they're doing that, like all I could say is keep pushing and keep going because it's going to pay off in the long run. Even if you're tired, like still keep going. So, yeah, I
No,
think
that's great.
to answer my own question, I've been watching a lot of podcasts lately and different hosts. I was watching Angie Martinez yesterday on YouTube, and she's a great podcaster. And you sent me a lot of really inspirational things of like celebrity interviews and people to keep
Mhm.
studying like interviews like that. And so I think that's what I'm doing is like I'm studying other podcasts while still striving to like be original and be myself. So so yeah, thank you for continuing to like pour such support and like
Mhm.
information in because like I see it and I'm like taking notes at the same time. So
Yeah, there's so many great people that have been doing interviews, whether it be late night talk shows or, but like up to, modern day, all the different podcasters, including us that have did and had guests come on. And I've always been about wanting to, what's the story within the story? Because like with reporting, for me, like for reporting on a high school football game or a minor league baseball game or whatever, a lot of people, a box score can tell a story, right, of how many hits somebody got or whatever. But to me, and that's what was great about Lauren when back to the Unsealed, that why I followed her and enjoyed her work when she was here in Cleveland, working for Channel 5, was a lot of her stories were deeper stories. They were off the field type stories. So you could look at a player's stats from a game, but that's not always the most important part. Like, why is somebody struggling? What's going on off the field? If they're willing to share that story of maybe challenges they're going through, it helps you understand. So, one thing I've learned that, like from when I mentioned earlier about being on the sidelines and I'm doing video and trying to get highlights of different games, is that one thing I noticed as being a sports reporter, if you will, is that even though I'm not very far from the stands, when you're that much closer to the team or to the field, there's so much more of the story that you actually see or hear than you can from the stands. And it's hard to explain, like, because there's different beat reporters for different teams that are always with the team and traveling with them and staying in the same hotels and just having conversations in the locker room, sometimes off the record. But to me, that's what I love about it, is there's so many stories out there that are deeper stories, and that's why I enjoy those late night talk show hosts. Like um, the one I didn't list to you that I really think is a good interviewer when I was offering you different ideas was Conan O'Brien. And I know Conan has his own podcast now, and does some other shows. I think he's got one on HBO as well. But I always enjoyed his interviews because, yeah, there's comedy involved with it, right? But then he always asked that very good, challenging question. It's my favorite part is when you ask and interview somebody and they kind of look away and they kind of really have to think about their answer. I'm like, yes, that's what I want. That's what I want to make them think and really come up with, not come up with, but really share something that's deeper that they might not normally share.
absolutely. I truly strive to be like that. And I also love Dave Letterman's show. It's called My Next Guest or something.
Hmm.
My First
Yep.
Guest on Netflix. Great show. And he's literally just being himself. I feel like
Right.
he gets the best out of people with that as well.
Yes.
So another thing that you sent me that I definitely love to touch on is, well, before we get into that, I thought of Ed Sullivan. He also there's a documentary called Sunday Best on Netflix, and I don't know if you know like the history of this was before my time, but I just learned
Right.
about him.
No, I know.
And he was a sports writer before he was, a
No, I didn't
host
know that.
and everything. And I was like, wow. And he actually was very uncomfortable with hosting and like being the front man. And he had a panic attack like his very first show.
Hmm.
And I thought that was so fascinating because he was like, this isn't, I just want to let them shine. And so he started bringing on like black artists, like Harry Belafonte and the Supremes, and like all of the amazing people at that time, and which was very controversial. But he let them shine, and I think that's definitely something that I want to model after. Is like
Hmm.
letting other people shine. It's like really not about me. If I had the chance to like have the spotlight or share the spotlight with others, I'd probably just want to share it with other people and highlight their accomplishments as well. Hi there, how are you feeling? It's me, Victoria, host of the podcast. And when I first started podcasting, I was super scared and nervous about the way I sounded, the way I looked, the way people would receive me. But using Zencaster has been a really helpful way for me to become more confident and express myself as a creator. So with Zencaster, you can record up to 4K quality in video, regardless of your audio and Wi-Fi quality. You can save files in the cloud recording, and you can adjust your audio and noise levels in the sound section. Go to zencaster.com/pricing and use my code Victoria15, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences that I do for my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. You feel me?
I was going to mention that David Letterman did, he was at Sullivan Theater forever, with
Oh,
CBS.
see, I didn't even put the two together.
Yeah, so there
Wow.
is a connection that's where when he went from NBC to his late night show there to
So
CBS,
cool.
he was at the Ed Sullivan Theater. I actually was in New York City in '93, October of '93, when he had not. I think that was the same year he started there. And
Wow.
remember going past there and wanting to go, but by the time we were passing through in the city, it was way too early in the day
Mhm.
to get. I was not going to stand in line all day either, trying to just to try to get in. But yeah,
If
and
he's
then
still recording live shows for that, I would love to be in the audience
yeah,
to see who his next guest is going to be.
and David Letterman and I share a birthday, so he's one of my celebrity birthday people. So yeah, that I've always
Shout out.
appreciated him.
Shout out. Shout out. So, moving from Dave Letterman to Coach John Wooden. So, we
Yes.
kind of spoke a little bit about this earlier. You sent me this quote that says you become what you feed your mind. And with this podcast called the Feel Your Feelings podcast, you mentioned that Coach Wooden once said emotion is your enemy. And it's important to recognize that living in your feelings can be counterproductive. I'm wondering, like, what your thoughts are about the messy side of feeling your feelings, but yet also making sure your feelings don't drain you, if that makes sense. And how do you find the balance between those things as a creator
I
yourself?
think that really comes down to that one's personality. Because what he was mentioning, how emotion could be your enemy, is you can if you get too caught up in your anger, you lose focus. But then again, it depends who you are. Like you would think in sports, anyways, that there are some people that need that. They'll use that as fuel. That anger, that frustration of not being picked by a team, and they play against that team, and I'm going to take it out on that team. So there's motivators behind that. But the question is are you so hyped up? Are you so caught up in your feelings that you actually lose your focus and maybe forget play calls and have penalties or things like that? That are important to the team's success. Um, so you have to be careful that you don't get too caught up in those emotions. But then you've had, Victoria, to explain, like if you go back to watch Monday Night Football, when Brett Favre played for the Packers, I think it was the Raiders who he played against. He had, I think, just lost his mother, and to cancer. I think it was one of his parents. I'm pretty sure it was his mom though. But then he had this like electric performance that he played really, really well that night.
Yeah.
And so there are things that can change you like that for inspiration, that your focus is there. And I want to do this for mom, or I want, and honestly, when I lost my mom in 97, that was something I promised her, is that, I said, I'm going to make something with my life. I promise you that.
It's
And,
beautiful.
I didn't know exactly what that was. I just knew what it wasn't, what path I didn't want to go down.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was a challenge that after, giving that word and commitment that, I've had to honor since then, and nobody's perfect, right? But, it's something that I'm glad that I got involved with committing to something like that that's so important to her and so important to me, and then the people around me. So, but yeah, that emotion can be the feelings of, I think it's about manage it, like
Mm-hmm.
feel your feelings, right?
Right.
And that's the title of your
Yeah.
show. But it's also manage your feelings,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you don't lose focus.
Absolutely.
That is so important. I think sometimes you can get lost in it
Mm-hmm.
and become to where it's over engagement
Mm-hmm.
with it. With so many things that are going around.
Mm-hmm.
We all have so much access through social media to be, I can be looking at sports, I can be looking at music, and then here's politics, and then it's this. It's so quick.
Yeah.
And if you stay so deep into that, it can affect you. And then some
Absolutely.
people feel like they have to comment all the time.
Yeah.
For me, I don't want to comment all the time. There's times like, well, yeah, I have an opinion, but I'm like, you know what? What's it worth?
Right.
I don't need to engage with
Yeah.
that. There's nobody that's gonna have value in that. Never mind. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Keep going. Keep going.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you for sharing that. And I was born in 97, fun fact. So 90s baby here. Um so with the season being called messy, one thing that I really want to get out of, my fellow hosts and creators is like, what's a behind the scenes look at your process, or like what's kind of like a play by play of what the messy process looks like for you behind the scenes as a sportscaster, as a podcaster, as a family man yourself. I'd
yeah.
love to know like what's the real behind that, because I know we present we're talking about social media, right? On social media, it's like our highlight reel, the things that are going right, but we don't often show the
Mhm.
process behind it. And that's something that I really want to tap into this season. So, whatever you're comfortable in sharing, I'd love to know, like, what were some of the parts of your messy journey that you're embracing?
Well, the challenge is there's so much show prep involved,
Yeah.
and we're on such a small scale locally.
Yes. Yeah.
So right now I'm on a hiatus with the show that we've been doing locally. I was co-host of Guardians of the CLE podcast, being a baseball podcast. Then we turned that into the Land Sports Show podcast because we wanted to talk more than just baseball. We wanted to talk about Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Guardians, Cleveland Cavaliers, and then other things in our area as well, sports related typically. The challenge is when you're collaborating and you have other people on there, so you're just a co-host, is everybody's schedule,
Yeah.
because this is nobody's 9 to 5. We're just we're aspiring, or we're just doing this as a hobby, like myself, doing it for
Because
fun.
we enjoy it.
uh,
Not
yeah,
getting
we
paid,
enjoy
transparently,
yeah,
not getting paid to do this,
like,
but
and
just,
for
yeah.
me to get started on it was just through Twitter at the
Yeah.
time, just having somebody reach out to me and be like, hey, or no, I saw their post. They're like, we're looking for another co-host for a Guardians podcast. And I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to kick the tires on it. Let's do it. So I reached out. We set up a meeting, met with the other co-host and the guy that owned the media company, started the next week. It felt very natural to me. It felt, and it was fun. Gosh, it was so much fun. Like, to have somebody in front of you, and to one, just to talk with, but two, to know that there's other people out there that are actually taking time out of their day to
Mhm.
listen to
Mhm.
you. Like, I want to make this
Yeah.
good, right? I don't care if it's 5 people or 5,000 people.
Mhm.
I want to do good by it. Like the quality of the show, having some sort of a rundown, preparing my questions if we have a guest on for interviews, or you're preparing your topics. your speaking points to make sure that you hit
Yes.
on
Yeah.
to fill the amount of
Yeah.
time. But then there's some shows, and this ain't me. I work with graphic designers, but I am not one. I am creative mind, but
Graphic
if you gave me
graphic
a
design is harder than it looks. I've worked with some really talented people. It's very harder than it looks. Like if I have a template, templates are great, but
Mhm.
it's harder than it
But
looks.
you put together some of your own graphics,
I
right? Or did
have
you have somebody?
no for this season, actually for everything. For everything I've done
Yeah.
my own graphics. I do freelance graphic design on the side, but I'm not a perfect it's not
Hmm.
perfect. I literally use Canva. Like it's all
Yeah.
on Canva. I created my these laptop stickers from Canva,
Nice.
bought the
Yeah.
text through Etsy, but by no means a professional, and I still feel like there's room to grow there too. So kudos to you for working in
And
this field.
you know, and there's and like I said, I'm not the designer. I hand it to my design team, and they do an unbelievable job. Um, but yeah, creating graphics for your show.
Mhm.
When can you get your guest on? What time do you need to adjust your time?
All of that.
I've been fortunate that I had, the one gentleman came on, Andy Billman, that I still follow. He's a uh, documentary producer. He produced some 30 for 30 shows for ESPN. One of them was Believeland, which is our Cleveland area. And he had to actually change the ending after he recorded it. He had it all together, but he had to change the ending in 2016 because the Cavs won the championship. So he was adding that on to the end, and it's one of my favorite things he ever put together. But I had him on as a guest, and I'm like, how did this happen? Like, was somebody reached out to my media guy that owned the company and said, "Hey, do you want to have this guy on?" I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, this is who am I? I'm just a 9 to 5 guy that works for another company, and I'm doing this on the side, and I get to do an interview with somebody that did an ESPN documentary. He did the Manning one too. There's one for I think Peyton and Eli Manning. But great guy. It was like so we put it together. I think it was like a 45-minute interview. He came on another time, promoted his other documentary he did, War on the Diamond, the rivalry of the Yankees and the Indians at the time. And then also the Ray Chapman story. That gentleman was the only player ever to be killed from baseball. Got hit in the head with a ball in the 1920 season, I believe. And yeah, he that was part of the story. But anyways, there's so much legwork that goes into it. Like if you want to be really good at it, and it's something that's a commitment, and we and go back to the beginning of our conversation, the sacrifice that you have to want to do something and get it right. That's the advantage, though. I can tell you as an individual, there's an advantage to just going on, know what? Here's my time slot. I'm going to have somebody come on. And, or you're just going to do like you did on your first episode where you go on about like 20 minutes and just kind of get an intro of what it's going to be about, what your topics are. So, but it's a big commitment. It really is. Yes. I've met, I would say Browns quarterback Bernie Kosar he was from the 80s and the early 90s. Met him in person at an autograph signing at a drug mart here. He was doing like some sponsorship, like they had some agreement. So he was going from like show to show, store to store. And I remember I was like, I just loved Bernie because Browns actually won back then, which was incredible. But meeting him, it was like when I saw him, I'm like, damn, I'm 6'3" and he's 6'5", but he just feels so much taller. And then when he shook my hand, his hand was just massive. And you just got to imagine, throwing a football and you to have big hands. And anybody that follows the NFL, follows NFL scouting combine, they measure quarterbacks' hand size because they're thinking of if their hands are too small, the risk of fumbles are higher, and then maybe that's part of their problem, or they can't grip the ball in winter conditions, things like that. But yeah, it was neat to do that, but it was just kind of like, wow, I'm finally there. But I can tell you, when I first started doing high school coverage on the sidelines, the second week I did it. Well, the first week I did it was super special because it was my oldest daughter's last game in the playoffs. They were going against a powerhouse school, so pretty much knew they weren't going to win that one. But I got to be a part of that and be on the field and see her perform her last halftime show. But the second week was the Holy War here in Northeast Ohio, which is Cleveland St. Ed's and Cleveland St. Ignatius. And at the end of the game, there was local TV sports guys and girls that were out at midfield following Coach Kyle. So Coach Chuck Kyle is one of the all-time winningest high school football coaches in the country. It was his last season, and this was his last game. They lost to St. Ed's. It was pouring down rain most of the night, and I walk out to midfield, and as the coaches are embracing, it was such a special moment because being around Coach Kyle, who I'd known about forever in this area, to actually be there on his last time. And then it was a super impromptu, quick interview. And I had Channel 3, NBC, I had Fox 8 next to me. So I had like John Telich and then the cameraman from Channel 3. Then there was a young lady from Channel 19 Cleveland. And John Telich, of all of those guys, is the guy that I knew obviously the longest. The other people, like I said, it was just a cameraman, and the other young lady, I really didn't know her work. But John Telich has been in the area forever, and I'm standing there, and I'm just like, I'm recording the interview and through the Q&A, and I'm just like, what am I doing here? Like, I can't believe this. Like, all back to a simple X post that said about, hey, do you want to come on and podcast? And, to become part of this Guardians podcast, to me reaching out, to then covering high school football, then having credentials to be on the field. Now I'm standing next to a Cleveland legend, and I'm just a guy. And it was just, that was so much fun. And then later on, 2 years ago, there was another gentleman, Dan Coughlin, who was a local sports guy that I got to stand next to and meet and shook his hand. And he just passed away last year, unfortunately. He had actually retired, but he was only coming back to cover high school football. But it was great. It was just neat to, like, I can't believe I'm in this spot. This is a hobby for me.
What would you go back and tell that guy, or like your episode 1 version of yourself who is just getting started in his journey of podcasting and interviewing, sports athletes and legends and people like that?
The simple answer is, why didn't you do this sooner? Because I've always been, I don't want to say I've always been a leader, because that would not be true. That's something that had to develop over time. I think the level of responsibility that I gained as a son and a brother during the time when I mentioned my mom passing in 97 from cancer. So she battled from 93 to 97, but in 96, my younger 16-year-old sister also developed cancer. So there's that period from 96 to 97 where they really needed, my support to run them to appointments and just be a good son and be a good brother. And that kind of responsibility like changed me, because it made me focus more on family than, you're what, 28, I think?
Just turned 28.
Yeah. So
golden year.
Yeah. So I was in my early to mid 20s there. And it was something where I just, with all the things in your 20s, right? You have so many distractions you can have with your friends, because not everybody is committed they're not married yet and don't have houses or families that have, older kids or anything like that. But point being is, I was able to focus more and spend that time with them to support them. And it just meant so much to me to be able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for
Yeah, absolutely,
for being vulnerable enough to share that. And first of all, thank you for embracing this messy journey with me. I really appreciate you being here. And
Yeah.
I want to shout out your current network where you are now, Key on Sports. Need your help with this one, but it's Key on Sports is your source for all forms of high school sports coverage. They do podcasts and game calls and written content, and they're based in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah.
So that is where you are now. Can you give me a
Yeah.
little bit more about what you do and where people can follow you specifically?
You could follow me on Facebook, Instagram, James Ellifritz, or at the Fritz 330. Also on X. Those are my personal and / professional accounts, if you will. Um, Keon Sports does a really good job in Northeast Ohio doing high school coverage of all sports, not just football. I know I've talked a lot of football, talked baseball, but they do a lot of good job, a lot of jobs where they have a lot of interns in the area that are really just starting out, and Vince is really good with those young people to help them start out in their career, getting credentials to be at different sporting events. I've been fortunate with my previous media group, Believe Land Media with Kevin Sleds, and now Vince McKee with Keon Sports, to be able to engage with different schools and the different teams in our community here and out of state, as I mentioned earlier. So it's just been a special time for me to do that because as I want to say I'm on the back nine of my life, if you will, because if I live to be 100, it would be an unbelievable surprise. But on the back nine of my career, back nine of my life, I just want to make sure that the people that I engage with, there's value there, and I'm helping them get to where they want to be and tell their stories, and help make them and the people around them proud by just sharing what I see.
Yes, sir. Well, you're doing a great job. Keep going. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you very much. And Victoria, please keep pounding at it. Keep up with this new season of yours.
Yeah.
I know the theme is messy, but you're going to come out clean on the other side. I promise.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Great human being, great person, great job with your other masters that you got at USC. Keep building upon it, and I know you have a lot of goals for the LA Olympics in 2028,
Yes.
and I really hope you get to be a part of that and a major part of that. And I think you will, as long as you keep going.
Yes, sir.
Keep striving to be great.
Yes, sir. I'll see you there. I'll see you there.
I would love that.
What they say, so what, so what? They gon' hate, just what people say. What people say, making peace with the only, ain't no competition on my mission, I'm the only. Said goodbye to the drama, shedding all the fears, all the tears, all my trauma. Ooh, now I got it made. Keep it cool with my girls in the shade. It's my moment, took it and I own it.